Sunday into Monday, I was rolling over, checking my phone, seeing the price and smash buying. And that it is counterintuitive, right? Because like Bitcoin is this global liquidity alarm system in both directions. Due to the nature which you described, it trades 24/7, 365, is extremely liquid. And that is a value prop that people really have not internalized yet, which is like, it's this liquidity alarm bell. And when you have these liquidity events where people need to meet margin, like, yeah, they're going to sell their Bitcoin first because it's the most liquid. They're not going to be able to sell their real estate. It's going to take a lot more time to sell their stocks and get the cash into their account, where you have companies that allow you to liquidate right away and move to your bank account within minutes if you need to. And that in it of itself is an extreme value prop as an asset, just generally and broadly. And again, that's many people, pundits, particularly on CNBC, Bloomberg, think that Bitcoin is this safe haven asset, which it is in the long term, but in the short term, due to its liquidity profile, like, it's going to be used if people are worried about their portfolios blowing up somewhere else.
And the beautiful thing is the people that actually understand it. Look at the accounts that have over 1,000 Bitcoin or even 100 Bitcoin. What were they doing during this past week when we had this, swift sell-off? They were accumulating, every one of them, right? Because they actually understand the game and they understand what the heck's happening here. And so Bitcoin flows into the hands of people that don't have overexposure to counterparties. It flows into the hands of net producers, people that actually produce profits in the world. And that's the game. Like, if you're providing value to society, you're able to acquire more Bitcoin. That's how the game works.
Yeah,
that's how the new game works. That's how the new game works.
Yeah, and if you did that Monday morning when we tipped 49,000, you're already up 20% in 4 days,
exactly.
Less than 4 days, because we're hovering right below 60,000 right now, which is hard to believe. Like, Bitcoin is extremely reflexive in both directions, and
that's right.
Over the long term, more and more people are going to wake up to this, and due to the supply demand dynamics, it's naturally going to go up. And that's just one demand side thing. Like, that was another extremely bullish thing, not only at the conference, but it's becoming more of a wider trend this year, which is companies, particularly publicly traded companies, realizing that Bitcoin is this supreme treasury asset, and Saylor putting the playbook out there and really diving into the logic behind it, basically looking at the book value of his assets at any given point in time and looking at the premium that shareholders are putting on that via where the stock price is, and just using that delta to say, all right, we're going to issue converts or shares and buy Bitcoin with that and push that book value up slowly but surely over time. And I think that's another incredibly bullish catalyst for Bitcoin moving forward. And I think it's a trend that's going to accelerate as well, as these publicly traded companies using a strategy to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible and actually have that be accretive to shareholders. Because if you do it correctly, the value of your shares as priced in Bitcoin goes up.
Yep. If you're a profitable business, just like at the individual level, if you're a profitable business and you don't have to rely on, next quarter, we're not going to make any money. If they're making money every quarter and they're plowing that excess into Bitcoin, they can go out and they can do riskier things like, convertible debt. They can go out, they can issue more common stock. Maybe they overpaid and the price was at, 400,000. It came back down to 200,000 for 2 years, and they overpaid for those 2 years, but eventually it comes back. Like, some of those dynamics, you can deal with that if you have a massive treasury like MicroStrategy and you're profitable. You can do these types of things. And it's almost like you have an additional, like, if we were going to look at the balance sheet of a business, we'd say, oh, here's Microsoft. Okay, so they have this asset, which is Microsoft Excel. They've got this asset, which is their data centers. And you'd list out all the assets on their balance sheet that produce these specific revenues and profits. You could make the argument that a company that understands Bitcoin and is profitable almost has like this hidden or secret additional asset on their balance sheet because of their ability to tap into public markets at screaming low yields relative to what an individual would pay, or just, common stock issuance. The fact that they can take some of their common stock when Bitcoin's undervalued and issue it into the market and buy Bitcoin with it, because that dynamic is a play on equities being capitalized at stupid traditional risk-free rate yields at PEs of 35 plus or 20, even 25, 35 plus. They're being capped based off of this old legacy system. And for people that actually understand how broke that system is and how unrealistic the risk profile is for these market premiums, and their value in the business and Bitcoin, it makes sense to issue common stock and transmute it into Bitcoin, because they know that the cap rates in a Bitcoinized world will most likely be lower than 35 times earnings. So that's that play. That's why it's basically like a hidden mystery asset for a publicly traded company that be able to just go out into the open market and issue more stock or do, convertible debt deals or whatever.
Hey, do you still have your Bitcoin on an exchange? Don't hold your Bitcoin on an exchange. Take it into self-custody. If you're looking for an easy way to do that, we have the BitKey. BitKey is Bitcoin made easy to use and hard to lose. Take the first step, get your Bitcoin off the exchange. Check out the link in the show notes. That'll get you 20% off your BitKey, or use the code TFTC20 at checkout.